Hey, I'm Denis, and I'm a B2B SaaS coach and consultant. And this is a document that I use to send to people who need to find where they are along the journey of building a B2B SaaS. So I'd like to walk you through this. And quickly, why should you listen to me? So back in 2017, launched my own B2B SaaS company. It was venture backed. We went through accelerators. We hired some staff. And as first-time founders, first-time CTO, so I was in coffee shops coding, and I thought I could code ourselves to profitability. I was wrong on that, and I thought that I could just work hard and figure it out without needing any help because I had to figure it out. I was the tech guy. I should have the brains to do it. So I made a whole bunch of mistakes, and I promised myself that I would come back and be the coach that I wish I had when I felt that I was alone in this whole thing. So this is why I became a coach, and that's why I'm inviting you to make sure you raise your hand, reach out, because we're all in this together. So let's dive on in. First thing that I like to address is what brings you here. I know in some cases you're left with figuring it out, and it's not that easy because you've got your own insecurities, maybe the education that you got or the education you didn't have. Maybe you're trying to make a good impression on the new co-founders that you have. Maybe you have a team that you've hired on, but there's all sorts of reasons. And here I'm addressing a lot of the CEO or CTO or founder. But if you're here reading this now, you have a vision for something you want to build, a SaaS that you want to create, you're probably going to have some of these fears. So it's good to know what are the frustrations, focuses, fears that you have central that keep you up at night. So just have those. So have a read of these and then have them ready when we have a discussion on what is it that really keys in and resonates the most. And at the SaaS that you're building now, some people come to me where they've already built a SaaS and now they're looking to pivot or they're looking to expand their revenue. But if you're just starting, you just have an idea, it's just good to know on what that could look like. So I like to lay these out in several different ways. So have a read and pick out where you're at. Maybe you have an MVP. Maybe you've already spent money on wireframes. Maybe it's just an idea. I mean, you just don't know how to get it off the ground. Maybe you have something in production, paying clients, and you want to sell it. Maybe you want to exit your SaaS. So where exactly are you at your SaaS offer stage? Now, when you're talking stages, company-wise, revenue is what we're looking for because we are in business. This is not a charity. This is not something, a nonprofit. We're looking to make revenue and be able to use that revenue to impact more people, reach more people. So it's good to know where you're at and what the possibilities are moving forward. I like to ask the questions that you see up above. Are you operating at a loss? Are you profitable? Because it's one thing to be able to make $1 million a month, but if you're spending $1 million a month, you're a break even or broke even, as my money mindset coach, Crystal Knoll, says. It's true that if you're a break even, you're broke. You don't have a profit margin. You can't invest in anything. You can't put anything in savings. You got to get away from that and always have a profit margin. But looking at these phases, where are you at? So these are just suggested based on experience that I've had and the different coaching that I've done with different companies. But SOPs and automation, some people try to start with that. But you tell me, should you optimize something that you haven't even built yet? Should you build a C-suite team? Should you find some founders and give them all C levels? Or should you just go and build the thing? Or should you go to your market and say, hey, do you actually need this? Knowing the phase that you're at and seeing what's ahead of you is what's going to help you in that certain phase. So clearly know where that's at. I like to also go into what you have for traction, because we know that traction is something big with investors when they'll ask, hey, do you have traction? What's your traction at now? The reason why they ask that is because they want to see proof of the market, that the market is actually reacting to what you have. And it's not so much that you've made money versus not made money, but anything that just says, people want this. But the problem I have with that is that people lie. And people say, sure, I want to use this. And say, well, listen, we have freemium people signing up and just trying it. But until you actually pay for something, there's no real decision. There's no vote of, yes, I want to do this. People opening up their wallets is really hard. And I would argue that even if they pay it once, the second time is so much more important. That's why you see high churn count. So that's when I learned in my own SaaS, the big discussions come when, are you even a budget line item? So when people have a discussion, do they have to ask their boss, hey, by the way, I need more money because of this? Or is it priced in such a way that they don't need to ask their boss or CEO or whatever? So, and if it is something that's major and they have to budget for it and it's hard times, well, the squeaky wheel will get the grease. So how do you keep that conversation going? And I'm talking about advanced subjects in SaaS, but for now, let's just focus on where you're at and knowing these numbers and what your goals could be. So use this as a guide for you. And something else that I've put together in the past that was really useful is just the roadmap to building a SaaS. So make sure that you download this and you have a copy, but you can see that right at the beginning, right at the front end, is something that I like to consider a micro SaaS. So you can build a full-scale standalone SaaS, but you don't have to start there. And I like this particular model just to give you an idea of, okay, I have a SaaS that I want to build. First, you're going to start with just the research that you have to do, making sure that you do your SWOT analysis and getting the base, the foundations down solid. And once you do that, you can do a micro SaaS, which would be just one feature, proving that people want that. And then it gives you a decision point to go, you know what? I like this. I like where this is going. I'd like to double down and invest more money. You can go to investors because you see the traction. But building that MVP first, then doubling down to go and get money to be able to hire critical people that you need to put other things in place, however you choose to build it. If you start with a micro SaaS, something that you can sell, we'll see a bit later where you have a different kind of SaaS, which is you can act as a consultant and have what I call a sidecar SaaS, which is, hey, this is the service that I provide, and I also have a SaaS to help deliver what it is that I'm doing or allow you to do a self-serve. So those are options that you have before you go and build a full-on SaaS, which could be multiple years and a lot more money. So I'm here to just crack that perspective, that siloed perspective of I want to build a SaaS, therefore there's just one way to do it. And that's not the case. So use this, and I use this. I give this to people who have existing SaaSes to say, like, okay, where are you along this line? And then it says, okay, well, we're going to focus on this, or building the team, or maybe we need to start here and making sure that it's you do the discovery right with a service mapping exercise that I'll explain. But this is a good map that I found that people go, okay, this makes sense. Here I'm at this stage. I know where I need to go. And interestingly enough, people have actually looked at this and said, hey, hold on a second, I think I've missed some steps along the way. So you go back and backfill those, and then things start to make sense. So use this to your heart content. Share it with somebody that could really use this, but it's just a way to articulate where you're at, where you want to go, and then what do you need to put in place to get there. All right, so moving on, this is what I mean by there are different ways that you can look at building a SaaS. For some, it's just a personal project, a learning project. And some people disguise learning projects as a business. They come to me, they say, Denis, I have a hard time selling my SaaS. Nobody's looking at it. Well, if you started it as something interesting to you, like you wanted to incorporate AI alongside Ruby on Rails or something, and you're like, oh, this would be a cool thing, and you spend all this time on it, and then you're like, I spent a lot of time on this. Let's see if I can sell it. Well, if it started off as a personal project, then it may not resonate with anybody who wants to buy it or that you're pitching this to, versus, let's just say you're an employee, you're at work, and there's something that you could build as a personal project to learn that could help you with your current job. Now that's kind of interesting. That's when it can become something like a micro SaaS, one feature, something that you can build that helps you with your work. And if it does, maybe your boss is kind of like, this is actually cool. Like, you took the initiative, you've built something, it could help you with a promotion, other people could use it, and you can actually say, you know what, this could actually be a cool spin-off thing. I mean, I've seen some people actually take everything that they can from their current job and then start something on the side and then build something up as a complementary service and then decide, you know what, I'm making enough money here, I can quit my job and go and do this. So it's a way to still have a learning project, but make it into something that's more of a micro SaaS because you're an expert in the field that you're working in. So that's another way to approach it. One of the things I have to mention with a micro SaaS, so now you can sell micro SaaS. So you can go on littleexit.com or acquire.com, and there's different platforms that you can post these technologies on that you build. If you just have an idea and you create it without market proof, you can still sell that, but it might be for a couple $1,000s. But if you can build the market around it, and if it becomes now a micro SaaS business, you can actually ask for a lot more money because you've proven that there is a market for it. And you may have seen a lot of advertisement of people saying, don't build a new business, just buy an existing one and all that, because it's really, really hard to find something that people want to buy. So if you take a personal project, if you decide to make it a micro SaaS, and if you can prove that people want to pay for that micro SaaS, that's one way to use the SaaS model to be able to make a solid coin, get that experience. If you don't want to build a legacy company or something that's more of a full-scale SaaS as a standalone business. The role assist SaaS I mentioned earlier is one that you can first look at service first building of a business, so a small service provider, or just a way that you can service a market with you being the expert, the consultant. You're helping to solve problems for people, and as you see the pattern of you doing this work, you can actually build a sidecar SaaS that you can bolt onto your business. And this model is actually one that I'm hired to do some consulting on for companies that have an existing product, or they have a new service that they want to build a technology around, and they might want to sell that as a new line of business. So when they create this as a new line of business, they can see it as a module or a bolt-on. That's why I call it a sidecar, like the little dog in the sidecar for the guy on the bike. But it's a way to visualize it so that you're putting in some effort on something that if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does, you have the option to either charge more for your service, or it could be a better way to service your current clients, a way to have new clients. So there is a really valid reason to choose a SaaS model and build it as a sidecar. And the last one, I call it a standalone SaaS, and as you can see, just business married, because that's what it is. When you find your co-founders, you're looking at 5-10 years to build this business and grow it. You're going to be hiring people, and you really get into the building a company, building a business, your team, your staff, and it's something that's major. But you don't have to start there, and I think that's the misnomer. That's what I believed at the beginning. Like, this is what we're going for, so we have to start there. But it clouded everything up, and it made it so that we were more attracted to bigger accounts that got us to build all these features, and then all of a sudden they didn't even want to be a customer anymore, and our smaller customers were left kind of hanging. So if I would have had this map at the beginning, I would have gone, okay, well, we want to do a role assist, or we want to do a micro SaaS business first, or we want to prove it with just a learning project in our current jobs that we have, and then you can decide to expand it to a standalone SaaS business, just like I'm showing here. So all the micro SaaS and the role assist and everything else is here. But then if you want to go into a standalone SaaS, you've built it based on the fact that you've proven this. All right, so as I mentioned before, here I just have if you wanted to do the micro SaaS approach, the 12 steps to get to it, to give you an indicator on how to do that. Then the service first approach, so you're changing the front end to really go and do a service mapping exercise to be like, what's a service that I can provide first, and monetize a service first, and then build a technology to backfill that, so that technology is being leveraged. And technology could be no code, it could be some code, it could be AI, whatever it is, but it could be just even straight up coding your own solution or buying a solution, but it's leveraging technology to make sure that you service your customers in a better way. Seeing it that way versus I have to build something before I can sell it, or else it's not real. So just again, changing that perspective. So this is a list of steps that you can follow. And I've mentioned it before, but as a last piece, this is something that's really popular with a lot of my clients, and they go for this, is just to do a it's a simple service mapping exercise, but there's a lot that's involved. You're interviewing different stakeholders, and you're putting together a vision for the product and the service, and you're getting to learn, like, if you have your core service, but what happens before your core service, what happens after. You're listing out all the different steps, and you're coming up with what I call a service flow overview. So you're mapping out all of the steps. If you had a magic wand and you can make it just do everything that you wanted to, if you have a current product, you get to work through the flow. What happens now? What happens next? What data is being created? What software as a service are being used now as an alternative? What do people in the market choose if you don't exist? Because at the end of the day, if there's a easier, faster, better solution, people will use that instead of you. And it just gets you to expand your mind to go, maybe there's something we're not seeing. So by doing this exercise, and the document at the end of the service mapping exercise is something that you can show to your staff, you can show to investors, to new hires. So it's like a vision document with your strategy and the roadmap, but high level, to then go, this is a blueprint, like this is what we want to build, and you could pass that on to somebody else that's going to build it for you. And the different stages of putting a product together, I like to go, what's human stuff first, and then what's no code AI or any existing SaaS that can be used, and then you look at custom AI and custom SaaS. So really by putting them into different blocks and road mapping that, you get to monetize much earlier, monetize before you've even built anything. So to me, it's the missing piece when somebody says, don't code or sell it before you even built anything. They're always missing the piece of, can you render a service and monetize that, prove the market need for it, as it can fuel the build for your SaaS and answer those questions, and you become an expert. And so that's why I'm really leaning hard on this, and I highly recommend it. So for me, that's why I've put this whole document together, so that you can go through and have a think on, well, what is the idea that you want to build? How can you think of it as a marathon, a process of, there's a market I want to serve. How do I want to serve them? I don't need to build a technology yet, but can I monetize? And so you get to see where you're at today, where you want to go, and then what are the pieces that need to be put in place. And that's my coaching and consulting and what I do. I have several different programs that you can go on the website to see all about it. But I hope that this was useful. And if you have any questions, contact me, because like I said, I became the coach I wish I had back in the day when I felt I had nobody. So now you're no longer alone. I'm in your corner rooting for you. So please don't hesitate to reach out, and let's get that idea, that impact, that business that you have in mind created, so you can do the impact that you're supposed to do in this world. If you have an existing business, you're looking to expand, you're looking to pivot, maybe you're looking to sell the business that you have, and you need to put things in place to get that ready. This is a big world, and we need a lot of people helping out in this space. So please don't hesitate. Thanks for watching until the end, and you know where to find me. We're all in this together.